Hello, fellow Dark Friends. Before we start this episode, we just wanted to give a quick reminder to buy your tickets for SpoilerCon. It'll be held in Portland, Oregon on September 27th through the 29th. Registration closes at the end of May. We've got lots of fun things planned, including at least one live recording, a silent auction, a costume contest, and there may even be a WoT dance party. Check out the website, spoilercon.org, to RSVP. Also, on the website are details for the hostel where we'll be staying. It's a unique space for the budget conscious. Remember to book early to ensure a spot. There are also several Airbnbs and hotels within close walking distance. Keep up on all SpoilerCon activities by following us on Discord, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Show up. Be there.
It's less than a month after DragonCon, but I'm going to try.
I'm going to try too.
Yeah, you guys, I would love to see you guys there because I can't, we should talk about the fact that we've got a panel scheduled together at SpoilerCon with Daniel Green.
Can we do that?
We haven't said
anything yet.
At JordanCon, yeah. Yeah,
No,
we
the-
haven't mentioned it.
We
We're
have
like,
not- this is like-
we've never,
Can we talk about that or?
we've never done this before, so we're like, do we have to wait till it's up on the website? Like, what do we do?
I mean, we got full permission to spray it across our social media from the
All right,
JordanCon
well,
folks.
Okay,
so
well then that stands.
Pray and pray.
So,
I'm going to make a
yeah.
fucking graphic.
That's what I'm talking.
Okay, well, you guys heard it here first. We will
Yeah.
all be on a panel together at JordanCon. Daniel Green,
gonna be lit,
WoT
fam.
Spoilers, and the White Tower podcast. Well, there will be a panel. So there you go.
The world will
That's-
never be the same.
Oh, you both had an episode with him, and we had an episode with him, and I thought he was just a wonderful guest. He was so on point and so articulate and so technology savvy. It was really a treat to have him on.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I really,
really
enjoy
is.
talking with him. Yes, very much.
And he's so pretty. It's just
I know, man. Like, ugh. God damn it.
there's a reason he does a YouTube channel and we do podcasts.
4 faces for radio right here.
Exactly. Boy, do we have a voice for it.
Listen, don't look.
The crazy thing is
Does
that
everyone close your eyes and imagine we're beautiful? So at the panel, we'll just be like, everyone look at Daniel. Does everyone look at Daniel?
Just yeah. Well, we should stand in single file behind him. And just
we'll just be doing like the jazz hands out from his sides. Like we're all,
what's the Indian god with all the arms? The
Shiva? Is it Shiva?
Shiva. Yeah, we can totally.
yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, we can be Shiva. Vishnu. Thank you, Agenor. Well,
yeah.
it's Vishnu.
Thank you.
I'll look it up and
We
fix it in
are-
the post.
We're bad people. I'm a bad person. I can't speak for the rest of you. I'm terrible.
Oh, no, we're terrible people.
The
Definitely
cool thing
garbage
about
person
Daniel
over here.
is before we started this podcast, I had found his YouTube channel talking about like fantasy matchups, like about fighting, like the Witcher series versus Land from the Wheel of Time, and I was freaking out. And then we started the podcast, and one of my inspirations for starting this podcast with Jess was Daniel Green. He was what got me into this. So later,
Interesting.
Daniel Green's like, yeah, let me come on as your guest. And I'm like, you're my fucking influence. So
She lost the entirety of her goddamn mind.
So I was like, you literally are what, because here's the thing, like, I didn't think there were any people that were our age or younger people or just anybody in general, because this is before the show announcement came out, that had any interest in this. So I just kept it quiet and never talked to anybody about it. And the podcast with Jess was my outlet, right? Because I didn't think anybody...
Makes sense.
When did you guys find us?
I found out you guys like right away as soon as I got on Twitter talking about the Wheel of Time. Because if you put in the hashtag WoT Wednesday, or you talk about like the Wheel of Time, when I was trying to do my own kind of publicity, it was like, okay, there's a podcast, WoT Spoilers, that I look and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, there definitely is a podcast, WoT Spoilers, and they've got a lot of followers and a lot of stuff. So, and it was kind of like a slightly similar setup. Like you guys obviously had been the integral podcast. You guys have been here a long time. Like you said, you guys have been here 2 years, and you're setting up your own SpoilerCon, and you're kind of the structure of the podcast society here. So I was like, that's pretty awesome. So to be here with you guys is pretty cool, especially in your 200th episode. So thank you for having us.
Oh, well, we respect what you do a lot. So that's why we want you on.
That's very kind.
Yeah. No, I have said it before and I'll say it again, but you guys are just top-notch podcasters.
Ah, thank you.
Oh, like
That's so nice.
This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
Hi, I'm Seth.
And I'm Patrick. Chapter 41, Among the Tuatha'an, and our symbol is the Avendasora leaf. A gathering of wagons came in sight, a little off to the south, like small houses on wheels, tall wooden boxes painted and lacquered in violent shades of red and blue and green and yellow, all standing in a large, rough circle around a few broad-limbed oak trees. The music came from there. Perrin had heard there were tinkers, traveling people, in the two rivers, but he had not seen them until now. Hobbled horses cropped the long grass nearby. "I will sleep elsewhere," Gaul said stiffly when he saw Perrin meant to go to the wagons, and loped away without another word. Bane and Chiad spoke softly, yet urgently, to Faile. Perrin caught enough to know they were trying to convince her to spend the night with them in some snug thicket, and not with the Lost Ones. They sounded appalled at the idea of speaking to the Tinkers, much less eating or sleeping with them. Faile's hand tightened on his leg as she refused, quietly, firmly. The two maidens frowned at each other, blue eyes meeting gray, with a deep measure of concern, but before the traveling people's wagons came much closer, they trotted away after Gaul. They seemed to have recovered some of their spirits, though. Perrin heard Chiat suggesting they induce Gaul to play some game called Maiden's Kiss. They were both laughing as they passed out of his earshot. Men and women were working in the camp, sewing, mending harness, cooking, washing clothes and children, levering a wagon up to replace a wheel. Other children ran playing, or danced to the tunes of half a dozen men playing fiddle or flute. From the oldest to the youngest, the Tinkers wore clothes even more colorful than their wagons, in eye-wrenching combinations that had to have been chosen blindly. No sane man would have worn anything near those hues, and not many women. And I'll leave it there.
That was very good. I'm Jess, your Emerlin seat.
I'm Jen, your keeper of the chronicles.
And we are from the White Tower podcast, and we are so happy to be joining you this evening.
And we're so happy to be having you.
Yay!
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. You guys are as well. So we're going to get a pretty lively group here talking about the Tuatha'an and Faile and Perrin and I read a little bit ahead. We're going to be talking maybe about the Tikanza and the Sisara and lovely things.
Yes.
So,
I would love to get your demonstration of one of those dances.
Jordan Kahn's coming, friend. Jordan Kahn's
Oh, shit.
And Jordan Kahn definitely has a dance floor. That's all I'm saying.
I will dance on the dance floor before I leave Jordan Kahn. Noted here. So.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
Good times.
Get ready to have
so
fortune thrown.
excited.
Get ready to have fortune thrown at your feet.
I could honestly use a fortune. That's fine.
Yeah, me too. God, I need some dancing lessons.
Who among us?
You know what? I'll split the fortune 3 ways with you guys.
Oh, that's so nice.
Oh, that's so nice.
Patrick, you can't have any.
Well.
Ah, you burnt.
Nobody wants to watch me do the Sisara anyway.
I don't know. Julia might.
out of humor, like.
So we learned the Aiel, we already know this, but the Aiel definitely don't want to have anything to do with Tuatha'an for sure. They wouldn't even camp next to them. Makes awkwardness.
Which, when you understand the origin of the Lost Ones as a branch of the Aiel, it makes a lot of sense.
It makes so much sense once you get there, but we haven't gotten there at this point yet, have we?
We've been through Rand's vision.
Okay.
So we did learn, So
okay.
We actually did go through that, and it might be hard to necessarily make that connection. It's a little subtle, but
Yeah, I don't think I made the connection the first time.
No, definitely not. But it's pretty clear on a reread.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that connection is really, really interesting. And, you know, I'm not gonna derail us and talk about how cool I think Ruidian is, but
oh no, please, I'd like to hear your opinion on it, because I've gone off about it, because that's really what the vision of Ruidian is probably my favorite fantasy series of all time in any books.
Oh yeah,
for sure. What I like about it, like Rand's whole thing. Okay, yeah, that's cool, that's fine. What I really liked was when Avienda went in
the second time.
Yeah. When she went in the second time, when, you know, she'd seen the past, she learned everything, whatever. But then the second time she did it again. And then instead of seeing like the sort of origin story, the true past, she starts to see the future. And I was like, oh shit. Like, is this written in stone? Is this for real? Is this actually going to happen? And then of course we never actually find out. But like, I loved that. I thought that was brilliant.
There certainly are enough changes, enough people died who were in the vision that we know the vision can't necessarily be totally true. Things have to be different in the future than in the vision. Because in the vision, the Aiel weren't part of the contract, and in reality they were. So certainly it's not written in stone. But the question is everyone who goes through now going to see a different future, a different warning?
Yeah.
Like, or are they going to see the past again? Like, how is that going to work? Or is it something Avienda did once?
I mean, in my headcanon, the way that I would like it to work would be that each person who goes in sees a different possible future that can be impacted by the actions of that person or obviously other people, but everybody's going to see something different. That's what I would want it to be.
I think you're spot on with that. In the same way that, like, when you go through the rings, you see a bunch of potential lives, but not one of them is set in stone. You think of some things that must be, some things that might be, and some things that will never be.
Flicker.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. Oh my god, how much does the flicker scene have in common with the accepted test that has in common with the rings of the Aiel? Like, it's all this seeing potential lives.
They all seem like variations of the same thing.
I think of flicker as Rand's accepted test.
Oh, whoa, you just blew my mind with that.
Welcome to Wheel of Time Spoilers.
We gotta blow.
I really appreciate that. Oh my goodness.
It's a very similar experience.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah,
all right.
It's good. This is good shit. Let's keep it going.
Let's keep it going.
Do we want to talk about Bane and Chiad wanting to play Maiden's Kiss with Gaul? Being like, oh, maybe he is kind of cute.
I'm going to pour one out for Gaul right now. Live.
I'm pouring one out for Gaul. I'm doing it. Gaul seems like a good man. Just like, man, you're putting your eggs in the wrong basket.
Yeah, I feel bad. Bane and Chiad, they give him all sorts of problems. I don't know. Gaul's a good person. I know. Yeah, but he's a stone dog.
I feel like everybody comes with problems, you know? He does come out of this with, and I guess what I really want to get at is tomorrow morning when Perrin sees Gaul, he asks Gaul how the night went, and Gaul like won't respond. He won't say anything. I was going to bring it up then, but it doesn't really matter. It made me wonder what does happen tonight. What Bane and Chiad end up instigating?
Yeah, they might get all up in that shit.
That's what I'm thinking is going on. Like, you know, I was thinking back to when Matt played Maiden's Kiss and he didn't make it home till dawn.
That shit sounds
I
intense.
love that scene. I remember that.
And
it
sounds fun. It sounds really fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to play Maiden's Kiss. Not
He
gonna
only
lie.
got stabbed a little.
I want to play Maiden's Kiss.
Which is like, that's some hardcore BDSM shit right there. They're not fucking around.
Maiden's Kiss. Set me up. I'll do it.
But I'm guessing that what happens is either the winner or one of the women choose the man and may or may not go home with him. You know, like, I'm willing to bet he didn't spend all night kissing. And I'm guessing Gaul didn't either.
Nope. Nope.
Perfectly said. Yes.
Gull deserves all the happiness. Like he's got to be one of my favorite Aiel.
I mean, the thing is, Bane is just totally not into him, right?
Yeah.
Like, Bane and Chiat are a couple. Bane is not into him, and he's into Chiat. And Chiat's like, I'm kind of into him, but Bane doesn't like him, you know? And
Bane doesn't like him. Like, what are you going to do? You can't have that.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
I mean, Ruark is number one, and Gull's got to be number two. He's just, I just know the best for him. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, sure. I think, didn't we have a whole discussion about Ruark equals daddy, like, earlier on in the podcast,
Yes.
Patrick? Yeah. That mostly came from the fans, not from me and Patrick. But it did happen. Yeah.
Maybe partly.
So, back to the Seekers and Maudie, the leader, which always reminds me of Dune and Muad'Dib.
Muad'Dib, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I always have to wonder if somehow those have a similar root or if they're related or something like that.
There's some fan theories out there that some of the Wheel of Time is based very loosely on Dune. That there are like some similar elements.
I mean, it's hard not to see the people of the desert and the Aiel as similar, you know, these warrior cultures that are led by, you know, a prophesized leader. Like, you know, if you don't see the parallels between Wheel of Time and the Aiel, or sorry, the Aiel and the Dune folk, the Fremen.
Yeah, totally. When I read Dune, that really stood out to me.
There's no way that you know, I guess Dune was definitely first, and there's no way that Robert Jordan wasn't familiar with that culture.
Mm-hmm.
And Dune came out like 25 years before Eye of the World.
Yeah.
60s, I think.
Blackthorn says that Dune was written in 65.
Wow.
Sounds right. So, yeah, almost 25 years.
So a while.
But Perrin sees the Tinkers and realizes that he knows this particular band. So he's stayed with them before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, flashback to Eye of the World.
Yep.
Damadi, Rain, and I set myself up and I don't remember his wife's name. Damn it.
Isla,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Is it Isla or Ela? I get these pronunciations wrong.
You know what? I say Isla. I have a niece named Isla, so that's just what I say.
Oh, I always said Ela in my head, but I know that there's a good chance that I'm wrong.
In my head. Either
I don't think anybody knows how to pronounce any of it. And Robert Jordan's gone now, and no one can ask him, and we're like, what the fuck?
I'm curious to see how the TV show is going to solve that problem. They're going to have to pick a pronunciation, and then that's going to be what we're all going to have to adapt to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to like throw
true.
something at a dartboard and pick.
That's as good as any other method.
In the back of the books, they do have the glossary, which I will say that in each book is woefully incomplete because more than once I was in a specific book, saw something that I needed to recall, and it was not in the glossary for that particular book. But they do have pronunciations in it. So, for instance, Days Congar from the Two Rivers, I always said Daisy, but it's not. It's Days.
Daisy was always in my head
I always
as well.
said Domain. It's not.
Damon.
It's Damani. It's
Oh,
Damani.
okay.
Yeah. So I mean, there is a
that was
pronunciation guide, but
there's
It's not
Damani,
Domine?
Baal Domon, and
Domine.
the country of Damane. Yeah, it's like
I'm talking about the leashed ones from the Shanshan.
oh yeah. So there's
Yeah.
but
So
the
it's
pronunciation.
Damani.
Damani.
It specifies
Mas Damani.
emphasis on the middle syllable. So yeah.
Damani, Domani, and Doman, the person.
Which did you just run out of ideas, bud, or?
I
You have to make up a
love
lot of
Baal
words.
Noman. Oh my god, he's so amazing. He's my
He's the
favorite.
pirate king of the Westlands.
He's the pirate king of my heart. No, go ahead.
He's the pirate king of all our hearts.
He stole it. Give it back.
Baal do be the best pirate of the seas.
Top tier pirate. That is true.
I don't know how I feel about that
Top
beer
tier.
style, though.
I went to JordanCon last year as Baal Domon. I shaved my mustache off and everything.
Nice.
It was the ugliest thing I've ever done. I should never ever shave my mustache off again.
The no mustache full beard? Or
Oh, it was terrible.
I guess that's not
yeah.
a full beard.
Everyone in the chat is asking pics.
Oh God, I will give you. All right,
I'm sure they're out there.
Oh, I have a pick. I will give me. We're gonna have to edit this down, but give me a minute, and I will bring up. Y'all talk among yourselves, and I'll grab my build photo.
Oh my God, are we even talking about the Wheel of Time anymore? I mean,
We were just talking about
I'm joking.
Gail Doman. I just called him Gail.
Disgust.
That's not his name.
Oh, that novel, no.
I think I can drive the plot ahead a little bit by just saying the next couple of pages are really Perrin and Faile talking to the Tuatha'an as they arrive, and we just really see a lot of greetings. We see folks assessing Perrin's wound, the 4 inches of thumb-thick arrow sticking out of his gut, essentially. It's at his lowest rib.
He spends the next 2 chapters with an arrow in his guts.
Ouch, town, population Perrin.
Yep.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
We were just talking on our last episode about how we don't understand how people can go to work with a hangover. I'm not sure how he was functioning with a whole ass arrow sticking out of him.
Shock is mostly
Just
like
really not
shock
sure.
and adrenaline.
I suppose that's true. Oh my God. But I think that this was sort of a watershed moment. Now, bearing in mind that, it's been a while since I've read The Shadow Rising in its entirety. So I could be forgetting something that happened further, but I feel like this was a watershed moment in Perrin and Faile's relationship, not least because she dropped the love word.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was kind of interesting.
And they both tell their secrets to each other during that scene where...
Yeah.
They told each other secrets.
Her family lineage, for one. I mean,
Which,
that's
Faile's
girl...
like, by the way, I'm rich and famous. MBB.
Going out she was on fucking stealth mode.
Yeah.
Parents
Way
like,
to
I
fucking
talk
bury the
animals.
lead there. Jesus.
By the way, I'm a princess. Oh, fucking really?
God damn it. Really? What the fuck are you doing?
Wait, a literal princess, or you're just
Like a...
have one of those
So are you
keychains or something?
are you a real princess or... Oh, just a queen's cousin. It's casual. Blah.
Casual. Totally cash, but
Totally cash.
my dad is like some general of the entire
like
fucking
kind of a-
country in Saldana, and
It's kind of a big deal. Like,
why do you actually like? He does. Our lands do produce peppers and stuff like that, so he is kind of a merchant. In a way, it wasn't really a lie if you really think
I mean,
about
it was
like-
only like a little bit of a lie.
You know, our servants are the real merchants, but we're kind of merchants.
kind of merchant. Yeah,
We're like their boss.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, how the Aes Sedai kind of tell you the truth that you want to hear. It's kind of like that. But anyway, so do you want some powder to make you go to sleep, Perrin? Because I think you need to go to sleep. You're pretty
I think that it's time to sleep now, baby. Let me give you some
It's time to
protein.
sleep.
And Perrin's like, no, I don't want any sleeping powder. And she's like, cool, just have some of this water then.
And I'm just going to hold your nose and flood your mouth and force you to
I
drink.
mean, you
Oh, okay.
dead ass roofing him. Like, I feel like we're walking the line here, Faile. I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah, but it's like if you're in a hospital bed and the nurse roofies you, like if the nurse
The nurse increases your
yeah,
fucking
and knocks you the
morphine
fuck
drip,
out. Like, is that really like, hey, you have an arrow in your side? Maybe you shouldn't be like running off to the mountains to fucking seal up the ways.
You want to know what she did actually have a pretty valid point vis-a-vis making him go unconscious, because he just was like a very difficult and non-compliant patient, and he was really going to do himself some damage. So, you know what? If it were me and that were my husband with a fucking arrow in him, I would absolutely drug him. I would club him over the head if I had to, just to sort of be like, no, you need to stop moving. Stop this.
I feel like that's the privilege of a marriage, or like at least this kind of relationship, is to be like, no, I kind of get some control over your body. Like, I get to determine when it's time. You don't have initiative now to make your own decisions.
Yeah. It's sort of like, okay, you know what? You're super stupid right now, and I just need to sort of like deal with this. So poof, you're unconscious now. This is happening.
And I
love
like
you
how,
very much, but go to sleep now.
I'm gonna say Ela until someone else tells me not to say it anymore. But Ela, I love how Ela and Faile are both like talking over Perrin and Faile. It's like literally to both of them. Like I'm literally right here as you were talking about me. You're having to talk over my literal head on this bed here. Can you guys pay attention to me for a second? Yeah, and they're like, what?
They
Like,
don't even say
well,
what. They don't
nah.
acknowledge that he's
Literally-
making noise.
Ela and Faile are like, oh, the baby's making a lot of noise
no,
again.
honey, don't. Shush.
Blackthorn in the chat just says it's just a flesh wound.
You silly bugger, your arms off.
Fakeness says, yeah, it's funny.
So, yeah, and at that point in time, you kind of have to make a judgment call as to whether the person in question is actually capable of making their own decisions. I would maybe go so far as to say that Perrin was not necessarily in a space, physically or mentally, to make good decisions for himself.
As opposed to when.
So,
he is never in a good...
well, no.
Yeah, and if he...
Oh, look at that.
He really is.
Oh,
He's a fucking dumbass, though. I mean, that's true.
I mean,
That's
if he
true.
Oh my God,
if he decides
Jess
to
came out there.
Dumb as a bag of the hammers that he
I'm just
does
a
the thing
simple
with. Like,
blacksmith.
he's
I'm not a general.
Dumb as the hammer on the side.
like,
Oh.
Sharp as a hammer and a bag of axes.
Yeah, and I mean, if he stands up and jostles that thing around, he could cut himself open and die.
I don't like to buy into stereotypes, but I guess I'm gonna. I don't know. There's the whole stereotype of men not wanting to go to the doctor, men hurting themselves and not wanting to get help for it. This kind of
It's a real thing.
it kind of is a real thing. My dad does literally everything. He fixes cars and boat engines, and he builds things out of wood and metal and all kinds of things. My father has fucked himself up significantly a number of different times, and we have usually had a hell of a time getting him to the emergency room when he clearly needs stitches. So it really is a thing. If my father, one time my dad came home and was like, I don't feel well. I think I need to go to the emergency room. And we were like, what the fuck? We were absolutely convinced that he was going to die. He had like kidney stones. It wasn't cool, but it's kind of a thing. And Perrin kind of has this thing where it's like, okay, well, I don't have time to be injured, so I'm just going to go do stuff anyway. And it's like, okay, you know what though? Except for that you are injured right now. So maybe don't. Maybe just chill for like a second.
I think if you walked into a modern hospital with an arrow lodged in your ribs, the first thing they would do is shoot you up with something so that you don't wake up for a day.
Oh yeah, no, you would be doped to shit.
Yeah, and then they deal with it, and then even after, they still keep you doped for enough so that you can't really move around, that you're mostly sleeping.
Yeah, because if you move around, you'll fuck yourself up. Like you need to be still. You need to we're gonna make it so you don't hurt and you sleep a lot. And I'm sorry because it's probably gonna suck and you feel like shit, but the alternative is that you do something terrible to yourself. So pick your poison. Oh
yeah, and he's really knocked out. In the next chapter, Faile doses him. He falls asleep. He's in the dream for a little while, and he wakes him up. He wakes himself up from Tel Aran Riyadh, but he realizes he's still in a dream.
Yeah, he can't wake up. Yeah.
He can either be asleep or in Tel Aran Riyadh. Those are his only two choices.
Right.
Yeah.
Asleep or asleep. Those are your options, buddy.
So he picked a sleep level 1 at the end of it, which is good, I think. It sounds like he picked up Faile and they went and they got up to some shit over in the bushes, which good for you, dude. But
wet dreams are a thing.
But yeah.
I'm learning a lot just from this one chapter. In one chapter, Rayan didn't recognize him, right? So you remember the throwback we spoke
Takes him a second.
Well, he's beardy at this point, isn't he?
Not even beardy, but the yellow eyes from.
Well, he has the yellow eyes, but he was clean shaven before, and now he's beardy.
Yes.
Right? Yes. No.
Yes.
He is. Yes, that is correct.
I mean, that probably has something to do with it.
And they're
the fact that he killed a man.
your yellow eyes, you remind me of Elias. And they're like, is Elias with you? And he's like, no. But you learn a lot. Not only does Faile come out and say, hey, this is my past and this is my bloodline and this is my family, but Perrin also tells her about the wolves really for the first time, and that he's like part wolf and runs with him in the wolf dream when he sleeps. So she just seems to accept that, and he's like, are you listening to you? I have a problem, capital P, with all these things with wolves, and your family's not going to accept that. And she goes, oh no, my dad and mom always talk about how I need to be bonded with a man that has strong blood, and apparently that's what you have. So you're a good match for me. We learn a lot. Like, they both open up to each other. Wagon, they learn a lot about each other that they hadn't before. So it was an interesting chapter. This was a necessary chapter for them to discover who they truly are. So
I agree.
I kind of wanted to point out that, at least for myself, when I was reading through this, I had forgotten that Perrin and Faile kind of, for lack of a better term, get their shit together this early in the series. This is only book 4, and the annoying part is over. Or what people often refer to as their annoying aspects of their relationship, when they're like arguing in the ways and arguing in the stone. That's really just a couple of chapters.
Yeah, it's not very long. The only other issue I think people have is the chase, is when Faile gets abducted and Perrin gets obsessed. And, like, that's the other half of the annoying part. And, like, that goes on for a couple of books, but it is only a couple of chapters when you're reading it in order. So it's not as big of a deal, I think, as people make it out to be, except when you're waiting years in between the books. And Faile's abducted for, like, a decade.
And I think...
yeah.
Which is valid. I mean, that book was a little bit of a slog for me, but it wasn't... I felt like there was more sitting around before they actually got to her than there really needed to be. That's a pacing issue, not necessarily a sort of, I don't know, storytelling issue. Maybe pacing is storytelling. I don't know. But, there's that. But there was other stuff happening in between those chapters that made it feel like it went on a lot longer than it actually did. It didn't actually take that long for him to, like, track her down and get her out of there.
It was slightly more than a month.
Yeah, which, considering that they don't have, cars or police force, not bad, actually. The turnaround time on getting his wife back was not terrible.
In that he assembled an army in 30 days. Like, that's what he was doing.
Which, let me tell you something. Daniel was on our show a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about people were complaining about Perrin's whole, like, obsession with getting his wife back and sort of not caring about what the consequences would be. And my whole take on that was, like, if something like that happened to my husband, I would burn down entire cities to get him back. I don't give a fuck. So fair. I get where Perrin is coming from. Like, I get it. I support him and him following his dreams. So,
do we want to talk a little bit about Aram here? Aram, the Tinkerbell.
Aram.
Aram.
You done fucked up.
Yes, he did.
Nice reference.
Thank you. Very
Me
much.
and Julia say that to each other all of the time.
You fucked up, Pediatric.
Toward him at the end, like,
Ch41.
I like how Faile starts laughing when Perrin's like, he smiles too much. I can't abide a man that smiles too much. And she's like, oh, I have something in my throat.
Yeah, what was that? Is it because he's a babe? Is that what that's supposed to be?
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, Patrick. I don't know. That's a good question.
So, when you go someplace like a furniture store or a car lot or any place where a person needs to... noted, I retract. Any place where somebody needs to sell a thing, you will occasionally have those people who have that extremely kind of well-constructed like almost kind of greasy kind of smile where they show a lot of teeth and they smile a lot.
Used car salesman
and
smile.
It's kind of.
Sure,
That's kind of how I read it, was that he's one of those guys who just he's putting on the act, and he's a little bit greasy, and a person who doesn't really know better might be charmed by him, but he's just generally kind of one of those kinds of greasy guys. That's how I
see. That's how I
like.
Picture
He's good looking.
Slayer.
He knows it.
Lord Luke is how I picture that guy.
Oh yeah, Lord Luke. Oh,
whereas
yes.
Aram I see as more as
That
like
asshole.
kind of a cute boy who's kind of also pretty fucking clueless and like a little naive, and everyone's
I end up kind of feeling sorry.
Yeah,
for him.
no, totally. He gets totally
Yes,
brainwashed. He's like a Mormon convert who just doesn't understand the real world.
Oh, so sad.
It's sad but true. Oh my goodness.
The Way of the Leaf is just like, I mean, as much as I love the Way of the Leaf and support the Way of the Leaf and think everyone should follow the Way of the Leaf, it's a little culty. And he escapes the cult, but kind of goes a little, the what is it? The most fanatic person is a convert. Mm-hmm. He goes absolutely nuts with that sword. And
yeah, he went too
But
far.
even here, you see a quote from him where, a big part of his issue is he gets convinced that Perrin is a dark friend. And you see him here comment on his eyes and how that must have been basically like he doesn't trust him because he, became part of the wolves. Your eyes, I see you have followed Elias after all to run with the wolves. I was sure you would never find the Way of the Leaf.
Wasn't that from when he was hanging out with the prophet, though?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, like, he definitely got mind fucked by the prophet. But you can see which,
like, fuck that guy, right?
Totally. Fuck Massima. Massima, I mean, first of all, he was a dick to Rand until Rand became the dragon. And then he went off and was like, oh my God, the dragon wants you not to fuck. And it's like, what? Why? No.
Massima is crazy.
He's totally nuts.
He was crazy when you first meet him. Yeah.
He can go fucking die, Falron. Thank you. Yes.
Speaking of Faile, how fucking great is the dagger to the face that Faile does? That chapter when she takes out Massima.
Yeah.
Massima.
Yeah.
And you weren't thinking that was going to end that way, were you? You were thinking Massima was going to be either taken out by Rand beforehand or maybe Perrin or something. But nah, Faile gets in there and she delivers the blow. It's like, what?
Faile is my fucking murdering bitch, and I'm here for it.
Isn't she great?
Faile will fucking kill a man, and I am just like, yes, girl.
Oddly enough, one of my favorite chapters is, and this is totally, I guess, off topic that you guys talked about, but where Ruark takes Berylane and Faile and the stone and breaks them up and takes Faile's knives and tells Berylane to go to her room or else he'll spank her. And so I was like, yes! For some reason, like, I love how they're like, Faile is literally trying to like stab him, and Ruark's just carefully taking each and every single dagger off of her person and saying, now your punishment is I'm taking these away from you, and Berylane, you have to leave.
And this is why Ruark is daddy.
Yep.
And this is why I would smash him like a hurricane off the coast. Fuck.
That was beautiful. Thank you for that.
It's really like
smash him like a hurricane.
That chapter. He's like, all right, you two, stop fighting over this man. I'm going to take your daggers. I'm going to tell you to go to your room on the count of 3. 1, 2. And barely like scooting on the hallway, trying not to run, kind of like running. It's so great.
There's a reason Ruark is dating 2 of the most powerful women in the Aiel society. Is that he is able to master both a wise one and a roof mistress? Are you kidding me? Like,
the only one that can handle it.
He can do it.
He's the only one who can fucking handle it.
Yep. While he's ruling a clan.
Oh, he's ruling a clan.
Fucking, ugh. Man, goals.
No big deal.
Yep.
Can we just say fuck Grendel for ruining that man?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Well, of course she's the worst.
How heartbreaking is it when Aviendha has to kill him after he's been mind-fucked?
Sucks. The compulsion weave is a hell of a drug. It's a hell of a drug.
Compulsion is a hell of a drug, isn't it?
I mean, it literally leaves you brain dead, at the level that Grendel uses it at. It's like...
Yeah, she doesn't fuck around.
No.
Yeah, everyone's like, why you ruin the mood in the chat?
And everybody just fucking takes
Bring us all down.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to bring everybody down. Make sure you all fucking back. You were having too much fun. Remember, it's all a tragedy. Everything bad happens.
It wasn't Ruark's fault.
Oh yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about Faile's parents and how she's like, Mom be okay with you splitting Trollocs in half. I mean, she'd prefer if it was with a sword, but the axe will do. Which I'm like, and just like later we get to meet the Bashirs, and it's definitely a very meet the parents moment, but like,
yes.
Oh god,
they are just fucking, they're badass, and I'm sad that they
really are.
They fell off camera too, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But I feel like this is the first time where he gets the title King of the Wolves. Because he discloses to Faile his secrets, and she's like, can I call you King of the Wolves? And
I think she was like, can you tell my mom?
Tell my mom that you're the King of the Wolves. Yeah.
King of the Wolves.
Exactly.
Like,
But that's where he gets the title, as Faile names him. Anyway. King of the Wolves.
Oh, and in the next chapter, Perrin comes back into the Two Rivers, and what do you call it? The banner is there. I think it was
the wolf head banner.
Probably Varen's idea, but she told Alana to move it along.
Yes.
Of course,
she gives that speech like people need symbols.
That's my girl.
Because Varen knows Varen knows he's the fucking King of the Wolves. Because Varen knows.
Varen knows. Yeah.
Love it.
She's completely white in her soul, as far as I'm concerned. It's just like, anyway,
I think it's purple, to be honest.
It's awesome.
Purple.
Like
Varen's color.
You guys know? Oh, okay. So part of the fandom for a long time, there was speculation that like clearly Varen lied, right, in book 2. And so there was speculation for a long time that Varen was a double or even a triple agent. And so the idea was that she was part of a secret good society, that there was this secret society of Black Ajah who had broken the oaths and could lie and did it for the dark. And there was also a secret society of good Aes Sedai who had broken the oaths but did it so they could lie and hunt the Black Ajah. And the speculation was that Varen was one of those. She was of the purple Ajah.
Okay.
So she turns out to be the only member of the Purple Ajah. But that the idea of Varen as the Purple Ajah is something that is sort of has a long history in the Wheel of Time fandom before it was revealed that she was a triple agent.
Yeah. Which, like, that moment was so good.
I like what you said about the Purple Ajah and that she's the only one. I can buy that.
There's a whole article about on the Wheel of Time FAQ.
I do remember there was something that was tweeted about, I don't know if it was Wheel of Time pollsters or something. There was a poll going around about what Varen's true heart was and what color it was, and purple was one of the options that you could choose. And I wasn't familiar with what that meant until you explained it to me just now. So now that you explained it to me, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So the triple agent, I guess.
Father will approve. He has always said our family is growing too soft, not like it was in the old days. I know he thinks I'm terribly soft. She gave him a smile fierce enough for any wolf. Of course, Mother always wanted me to marry a king who splits Trolloc in two with one stroke of his sword. I suppose your axe will suffice, but could you tell her you're the king of wolves? I don't think anyone will come forward to dispute your claim to that throne. In truth, the splitting of Trollocs will probably do for Mother, but I truly think she would like the other. Light, he said hoarsely. She sounded almost serious. No, she did sound serious. If she was even half serious, he was not sure the Trollocs might not be better than meeting her parents. Here, she said, holding the mug of water to his lips. You sound as though your throat is dry. Swallowing. He spluttered at the bitter taste. She had stirred in Hila's powder. He tried to stop, but she filled his mouth, and it was a matter of swallow or choke. By the time he could push the mug away, she had emptied half of it into him. Why did medicine always taste so vile? He suspected women did it on purpose. He would have bet that whatever they took for themselves did not taste that way. I told you I did not want any of that. Gah! Did you? I must not have heard. But whether you did or not, you do need sleep. She stroked his curly hair. Sleep, my Perrin. He tried to tell her he had indeed told her so, and she had heard it, but the words seemed to tangle around his tongue. His eyes wanted to slide shut. In fact, he could not keep them open. The last thing he heard was her soft murmurs. Sleep, my wolf king. Sleep.
Googling SpoilerCon.
I know, it sounds awesome for what you guys tweet about.
We've got a website, so it's real.
Like,
SpoilerCon.org. Yeah, of course you can come.
I didn't know she said they have a trailer. Oh my god, I didn't get on this. I need to get on this.
I have never been a big sort of forum person, which is ironic because I am a community manager by trade, and I've never been like a big sort of active in a fandom kind of person. Like, I am a fan of a lot of things. Am I active in a fandom? Not usually, but I have recently become active in a couple, the Wheel of Time fandom being one of them, that like just seeing the sheer power of a bunch of people who want to do something together because they all love the same thing. Like, do you guys know the podcast My Brother and Me? No, okay.
No,
it's a really good podcast. It's three brothers from West Virginia giving bad advice that they get off of like questions they get off of Yahoo Answers.
That's fabulous.
It's very funny. And listener questions, and they've been doing it for like almost 10 years, I think. It's fucking crazy. But they're fans. They're from rural West Virginia. There is, poverty there. And they work with a local organization that at Christmas time provides not just like gifts for underprivileged families, but things like mattresses and coats and appliances and stuff like that. And honest to God, the freaking charitable wolves that are fans of their podcast, every single year they smash it, they crush it, just like throwing all of this money at this organization just because they love these three dudes. Like, it's so amazing to see stuff.
That's awesome.
Like that. It's very cool. And they're the ones who actually call us charitable wolves. So,
did you guys see the Twitter poll today that came from Amazon and just how the Wheel of Time folks crushed it?
Dude,
I did, yes.
I did. I got in on that one. It was at 6%, and you guys rallied hard. Like, we all rallied hard, and it went up to like
real hard.
And increase literally from 6 to 36. And I was just like, what? It left the Lord of the Rings.
Because we're fucking crazy.
In the dust.
Nobody wants Lord of the Rings.
Place.
Not even Lord of the Rings fan want Lord of the Rings.
That's not true. I want Lord of the Rings.
I want Lord of the Rings, but it's like Lord of the Rings has had their time in the sun. Let somebody else have a turn.
I was actually surprised. I was surprised they were doing more with it. I'm like, wait, really? Huh.
I'm
not mad about it, but
7 currently. It even went up. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I gotta find that and vote with my personal account
when it's done, because I do believe that the Wheel of Time will win based on the current trend. I'm just going to retweet that again and be like, we rallied hard, guys. Look at what you did. Like, I'm so proud of this community. I feel like I'm caught in the middle of like a whirlwind of just utter positivity. Like, every fan, every podcast, you guys, everything has just been so positive and good. It's like a dream. I can't. This is amazing. It's just a bunch of books, but look at this.
Right.
Look at what we're talking about. Look how we're coming together.
But it's a philosophy around those books, a philosophy of empathy and caring about what other people think and understanding and, realizing that we all get it fucking wrong a lot of the time. Like it's not just the books, but it's also the ideas in the books and then the people around the books who have come together and been, just amazing folks.
A lot of people.
Yes, we're a pre-vetted group, so the only way you get to join this club is you have to read 15 fucking 800-page novels, and so only people who can do that are part of this group. So
it's a really high barrier to entry, you guys.
It really is. Yeah.
A lot of people are saying in the chat, it's not just a bunch of books. I'm saying that, like, obviously, ironically, like, of course, I love these books. Like, they literally kept me alive at a time where I needed them. So I think they're amazing. Of course, we all love them.
Yeah, I mean, we are, like I said, I don't think we've said this in recording yet, but this is episode 200. We have done 200 episodes and more for bonus episodes and other podcasts and stuff like that. But that's all because the fandom has been supporting us for the past 2 years and making sure that this happens. They wanted it. They wanted the podcasts, and the demand was there. And so when we started providing something, the support was there.
And I'm sure the only reason we're still here doing this is because people care so much, and the only reason we're like producing content at the rate that we are.
When we started this, I had just I'd started dipping my toes into the Wheel of Time community a little bit. I'd finished reading all 14 books for the very first time. If you listen to our show, you'll know this, but I made it like halfway through Heart of Winter, and then like I died and didn't come back to it. Didn't come back to it for a really long time, and then I actually went through and I just like fucking slammed it in 3 months about a year ago. And I had just finished reading through to the very end, and the end, like the way the series ended, I had so many feelings and kind of a lot of anger. And so I sort of just screamed out into the void of Twitter about it, and Jen came back, and that's sort of like how everything started happening. But when we started this, I didn't know that there was potentially a TV show in the offing. I didn't really know much about any of the other people doing shows about Wheel of Time or anything like that. So, I went into all of this blind, and imagine my surprise when I stumbled into this amazingly friendly, welcoming, supportive community with other creators who are like, hey, welcome to the table. Awesome. Yeah. We're glad you're here. Like, it was just, and even with the episode we did with Sally and Emily over at Everybody Hates Rand, when we're talking about, issues of gender and LGBT.
I love that episode, by the way.
And
I didn't agree with everything, but I loved it.
You know what?
That's awesome. That's good, though.
That's fine. And I came out of it honestly expecting that we were going to have to go to war, that we were just going to get inundated with people who are going to say terrible things to us because we are women with opinions. And, and we didn't. Not a single person, not one.
Wow, really? Not even one?
Not a single one, not even one.
No.
There were two people before we recorded. After the episode dropped, nothing. I was flabbergasted.
Cool.
And I want to say, in the two years we've been doing this, I've gotten maybe two trolls the entire time we've been doing this. And that's nothing. We're an internet community, and like,
oh,
they
that's
weren't even
amazing.
So much,
yeah,
right?
It's usually just a matter of course, no matter where you are on the internet. Like, some jerk shows up and yells something racist or something like that.
Exactly.
Of
you
course.
always have like racist Bob over in the corner who's got something to say. Like,
yeah.
The community jumps on it. So when we get someone who comes into the community who may be a little on that edge, we actually get people who do a good job of bringing them back into the community and coaxing them maybe away from the trollish edge and into, hey, this is a good community, join us and you can actually enjoy yourself. And all of a sudden those trolls find acceptance and they're happy to be here. Does that make sense?
No, it does
those
make
potential
sense.
Trolls.
It does.
Yeah.
It does make sense. You'll always have people who are going to double down. But there was one guy, and I just basically antagonized him with animated GIFs until he went away. So he was just really trying hard to engage me in a debate about, like PC representation, snowflake, whatever, blah, blah. And I was like, no, here is a gif of Jennifer Lawrence going, okay, like, I'm not playing this game with you. Go away from me, please. But we love the community, despite the fact that in our last episode, we said, fuck you to our listener.
How did that happen?
Yeah, what were they doing?
No, nothing happened.
We just like, God, what were we doing? We were going off being idiots, doing something and talking about.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? I don't even remember. But then we were just laughing and we're like, enjoy this garbage podcast.
Fuck you, this is the best we've got. Enjoy it.
Things just sort of escalated. We were coming at them with a lot of anger. Like, no, we love our listeners. They're amazing.
Oh, we loved it. We were just, I think we were like half lit.
We were being silly.
Around.
Yeah.
We were being
and like
silly.
6 shots of Fireball.
The Fireball always helps the honesty. That's for sure.
Fireball is a harsh mistress.
I don't know how you deal with her. She would kicks my ass.
Gosh, she's such a bitch.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?